Welcome back. On today's Dungeon Design Drive-By, we take a look at part 1 of a 2-part one-shot that I like to call Journey to the Infernal Plane. I'm Mark William, and you're watching Drive-By D&D. Two years ago, strange rumors about the rediscovery of a doorway to the Infernal Plane swirled around your home village of Idleshire. Being lifelong adventurers and friends, the opportunity to discover this place of mystery was too much to pass up. Using all the clues, maps, and first-hand accounts you could gather, you quested for its whereabouts, and after 2 long years of hard travel, finally found it. The doorway to the Infernal Plane. Its massive frame casts a dark, heavy shadow over you, and its gothic stone construction screams of danger and evil, as if it were warning stray passerbys to
stay away.
Engraved in the stonework is a glowing bright red message in a language not often seen in the Great North. However, it is hard to concentrate with the sound of heavy snoring nearby. Then you see it, a young black dragon, sleeping in a pile of bones. In this one-shot, the players have heard about this mysterious doorway to the Infernal Plane. The rumors have been swirling around, and the players have journeyed and have now stumbled upon the actual mysterious doorway to the Infernal Plane. In my preamble, I included basically everything the players need to know. So the setup, the lead, and the twist are all sort of in that one description. So the main things that the players should notice when they first get here is the red script in an unknown language on the doorway, 4 pillars, pressure plates, these stones that are sort of out of the ground and look suspicious, and of course the snoring red dragon for a bit of sense of danger. So the idea is that hopefully players attempt to read the doorway, and on it will be in a different language, Infernal or Draconic, and depending on whether your players have chosen those languages or not, they'll either be able to read it or they won't be able to read it. And that's why I have the dragon over here that can help them in case none of your party members actually know how to read Draconic or Infernal. But when they do get that information, and I'll talk about the dragon a little bit later, if they do get the information, it will just read, beware travelers. The first step into darkness requires light, something along those lines. The idea being that the pressure plates, I've put 3 in front of every pillar, and of course I have 4 pillars for 4 players, so you can change that depending on your player count. But basically, the players are to step on the correct stones in front of each pillar and light them like so. I predetermined as the DM, you can predetermine which stones are the correct pressure plate to press down, or you can make it more of an interesting puzzle. For my purposes, I just literally I chose which one it was in front of each one, and they basically had a 33% chance of guessing the right one. I also put this middle stone in here as a tempting pressure plate to step on. If they do just go right for it, it will cause a consequence. And which brings me to the consequence. If the players are unable or step on the wrong plate,
the door to the Infernal Plane will disappear. And
all the players will have to make a dexterity saving throw, an athletic saving throw, something to avoid being pulled into this portal. A vortex pulls them in. So if players fail, they'll be sucked in and transported, separated from the group in a separate situation, which I will explain in a minute. Hopefully, the players, again, they can use their perception checks, wisdom checks, anything like that. Give them an opportunity if they start to realize, which stone is it? You might give them a clue. If they roll a high perception check, this one seems more worn in. It seems like someone stepped on this one before, which could then lead them to eliminating their choice. So I'm going to get to a few other clues that you can use to help the players solve this puzzle. And again, I even just threw, these are stone gargoyles here, which I played a game with some players and they use the gargoyles to, they move them onto the pressure plates because if the players did step off, the portal opens. So I also had them, some people search for rocks that they could throw onto the stepping stones, and that was another strategy. So basically there's a lot of different options, like kind of let the players play around, and I'll talk to you next about the dragon over here and also what happens to this poor warrior who got sucked in to the doorway to the Infernal Plane. As I just mentioned, if the players are unable to decipher the script, no one can read Infernal, no one can read Draconic, then that's where the Sleeping Dragon comes in. So it's very important that I'm using this dragon, and he kind of has a cool backstory. I call him Red Fang, and he is basically, he's been sleeping here watching this puzzle, and adventurers come, and basically he just eats them if they fail and is fully satisfied. So that's why he's not antagonistic towards the group. If they approach him, wake him up, try and speak to him, he's going to be amused. He finds this very amusing. Adventurers travel from all over, can't solve the way to get into
the doorway into the infernal plane. So
this is another tool. Hopefully the players will speak to the dragon, wake him up, he'll explain his role, he'll explain things like, I saw a warrior step on the middle pressure plate and disappear. So not clearly giving away that the portal will open, but other than that, he has no real information. He's just here to eat stray adventurers. But if the players press, maybe make a persuasion check of some kind against the dragon's wisdom, he might offer another clue. For example, I know on the pillar right behind you that the middle step is definitely not the right one. Another adventurer stepped on that one and disappeared. So it's up to you how much information you want to let the dragon give them. But also, once they've sort of talked to him and maybe you've given them a few clues, he is watching and he is hungry. So you can also use the dragon as a warning. And I played the game, and with my group, I said, well, he's full now. He just ate, he's full, but his stomach is starting to growl, basically signaling to the players that you better move quick through the portal. And I did that right when they had solved the puzzle. So basically, it's just an extra little timer to press the group forward. Or if the players really get attached to Red Fang and he is helpful and you want to play him a little bit more helpfully, then maybe he joins them. Maybe he goes through the doorway to help them in the Infernal Plane. So just be open-minded with what your players do, and that pretty much is sort of this element of the board. Next, I'm going to talk about the consequence to stepping on the wrong plates that I mentioned a little bit earlier. As the players are maneuvering around the board, stepping on the right pillars, as I mentioned earlier, a player might step on the wrong stone. So for example, this player does just make a step. Maybe he made a perception check on one of the stones and was given a clue and had a 50-50 chance and stepped on the wrong stone. Portal opens. Strength checks, dexterity checks, players can hide behind the pillars. That's also a utility of the pillars. Gain advantage, perhaps, if they position themselves well. I had players who moved even behind the vortex, and I didn't even think of that at first, but I felt like it was a kind of a smart move by the player to just get out of its way, and I rewarded them with that. And then players started moving over here. I just changed that to, well, the portal's growing stronger, and now you're going to have to make strength or dexterity saving throws at disadvantage. So just in case players get a little too smart, you can just up the strength of the portal vortex. So these 4 players survive. They've used a stone statue on that pillar, but poor old Captain Beardo Captain Beardo gets sucked through, unfortunately. Fails his check. Gets sucked through. Gets teleported to a separate board, separating him from the rest of the group. So this is where hopefully the players will really start to feel the danger of this board. Now, very cool element I added. The player stumbles into this room. It's hellish, it's hot, it's warm, and he stumbles upon a warrior covered in blood. And this warrior is actually Sir Douglas of Idleshire from the town that they came from. So you want to use an NPC that came from that town right away, who's been trapped here. And if you've spoken to the dragon already, perhaps Sir Douglas was the one who stepped on the center stone and got sucked in and disappeared. So he's going to find Sir Douglas Idleshire, who basically is going to warn the player that swarms of undead keep warping into this hellish room. So you're going to roll a 1d4 at this point, and depending on what you roll, zombies, undead husks, skeletons, those type of figures are going to pour into the room. So roll a d4.
Some other die.
Depending on how difficult you want to make it. And they're going to be engaged in the fight while the rest of the party is trying to solve the puzzle. Once the players solve it, then that's when perhaps the undead stop pouring through and the players escape. And if multiple players get sucked through the vortex and into this room, or even all of the players, that's when you're going to have to maybe get a little bit more creative with what you do with them. And I'll explain that in a minute, but essentially, solving the puzzle is the idea to get these people out of the portal. Some players might even choose to jump through the portal to help their friends and just let that happen. And I'm going to explain the end of it all and where this goes right now. When the players do solve the puzzle, and everyone's come back one way or another, at the end of all this, the first thing you're going to do is, at each pillar, there is going to be a reward. I would have some treasure for each player within the pillars. I used Ioun Stones as a way for players to basically get knowledge. It's a crazy object that floats around their head so that when they move into the Infernal Plane, it's kind of with them and increases their abilities. So that was my idea. I liked it. Give everyone a buff right away. This is a one-shot, so I don't like to hold back on items, and I don't like to hold back on danger. So give them an item right away, you know? And basically, when that portal opens, though, that's when you're going to... This little blue orb is going to appear out of the portal. And this character is called the Herald, and he's going to announce, or basically, again, warn the players that you've disturbed the gate, or the doorway, into the Infernal Plane. The Emperor, Mephistar II, knows that you're coming through the gate, so enter at your own peril, and warns them, cackles, and departs. So the players will then go through the vortex, and with their Ioun Stones, I forgot to mention, when they going through the portal should require some checks, so if someone did fail and go through the portal, they should make a dexterity saving throw, so because they can't handle the pull of the vortex. But now that they've received their Ioun Stones or their magic item, they're capable of going through the portal without any sort of save. They've adjusted to it. So all the chaos that sort of happened, they should hopefully feel more powerful now, but also feel a bit of, like what's up next? Like, where are we going? And they are going to the Infernal Plane. So next week, we're going to talk about Act 2 of this one-shot. Until then, I'm Mark William. Thanks for watching this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe to the video if you want to see more content like this. And remember, all D&D, all day long, all night till dawn.